buy, sell. Stock market?
Exactly. No, Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Still in the last century.
Hi, I'm Virgil Donati. I'm here in Frankfurt, and we're going to be talking about things. One of my strong points, strong characteristics, is my mental strength, my ability to withstand a lot of stress and a lot of negative thoughts. I have an ability to work through them without letting it drag me down. And in that context, there's nothing that's really been an obstacle that I haven't been able to work through. You know, each day I wake up, I feel excited to take on the day. I feel like I need to get it moving because there's so much I need to do to accomplish. While I feel that, and I do on a daily basis, then there's no room for these obstacles. Or these obstacles are there, but they just get pushed out of the way as I go through the day.
Can we talk about yesterday a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, so first and foremost, I was very impressed because for me, the basic concept of playing with a drummer, you really have to be in the same heartbeat for a whole thing, not just I give you the time, you do your solo and vice versa, but really playing a song together and playing the same or variations of the same together. So for me, this concept sounds like a one-way ticket to Flam City.
I do like flams. I mean, honestly, I have mixed feelings about having two or more drummers on a stage. But in this case, with Thomas, we made the decision to prepare some compositions, some drum duets, and just give them a little bit of foundation, a compositional foundation, so that perhaps there are parts that we're playing in complete unison. There are parts where there is call and answer, which can be quite interesting. It could be just a regular drum pattern that we divide, we split up, you know, a beat each or half a beat each. And hearing that stereo to and throw is quite interesting and exciting. Nothing you would play normally as an individual drummer, but I think it's important to realize that there are compromises. You know, I may play a song, and because it's in unison, it's not necessarily how I would play it as the only drummer. But I have to be cognizant that there's another drummer there, and you've just got to balance how busy you are, how dense it's going to become if everyone starts playing over everyone else. And, you know, you just have to use your common sense, your ear, your musical sensibility, your taste. All these things factor into what experience you're going to give the audience. I think it's important not to compete in this, because if I try and be louder than him because drumming is a macho instrument and you gotta be a beast. Urgh. I don't care about being a beast. I care about being a musician. And sometimes that means holding back a little. It means playing textures and playing, leaving holes. And music is much more than being in beast mode. I mean, I see so much of this as if it's a really strong, important characteristic that you have to have. You always have to play at 110% or it doesn't count. I think that's kind of juvenile. That's something you'll probably grow out of eventually. And it's wonderful. Yeah, energy is fantastic. That's what life is about. It's energy. But let's give it some dimension so that when we use that energy, it really pops out. Because if that energy is always at 110%, then you lose that sensitivity. It becomes one-dimensional.
So the baggage we carry with us makes us who we are. So mistakes hurt, but they're necessary to improve the next time.
Yeah.
Then you don't do that mistake, or maybe not that often. So all the things that went wrong in the past will define our actions in the present. So what are your crucial mistakes and your favorite failures?
My favorite failures?
If there's such a thing.
If a failure is coming off stage not being entirely at peace with your performance, then that's almost a daily occurrence. So I would give up now if that was an abject failure. One thing that may help the younger players out there is that I remember a time long ago when perhaps listening to people, to opinions, was not the best thing to do. Because after all, they're just someone else's perspective. And the most important thing is that if you've chosen to do this, whether it's drumming, any musical instrument, or any art form for that matter, if you've chosen it and you have a vision and you have an excitement for what you think you can imagine and what you think you can create, then you need to listen to yourself and persevere with those feelings. Along the way, you may get criticism. Some of it may be justified, some of it may not be. But maybe in my early days, I may have let that affect me somewhat. I may have thought about playing. It could be something even as simple as playing a song in a certain way when I wanted to play it another way, only because of people's expectations. It's very small, sounds like a small thing, but in retrospect, I think today's younger people perhaps have a lot more self-confidence, I'm noticing, in themselves than my generation. And I think this is a great thing. I think they should have self-confidence. They should move on those feelings and go ahead and play as they imagine. Yeah, I think we can learn in a number of ways. And learning doesn't necessarily mean that it will help your drumming or it will make your technique better or it will give you renewed musical vigor and, or perhaps it will psychologically if you listen to someone else talk. But it's always interesting to get another perspective, to make you think from someone else's perspective, see things another way, because there are as many ways as there are of playing on our instrument, there are also different philosophies and different ways of feeling and thinking about things. And so at times, yes, it can be, if not helpful, at least interesting to hear others talk about their craft. Well, that's basically what I do every day. I'm discovering new ideas. And it's quite remarkable how much rhythmic territory there still is to explore and the creative ways that it can be orchestrated between these four limbs on our instrument, distributed in some way on all those tools of our trade, It's quite remarkable, and the discovery never ends, really. I mean, I've been playing drums now for 56 years, and fairly diligently, I should say. So I'm just now uncovering a whole new set of ways of voicing my rhythmic ideas. And perhaps a lot of these ideas will take time before they become part of my library, my internal library. My options that are there on call spontaneously. But this is what keeps me reinventing myself, just moving forward. I don't like static. I don't like doing static. I don't like, sometimes I'll play a bad solo only because I don't want to play something that I've already played before. I'll play bad solo because I'm searching for something new, and it's just not coming out. It's just not happening on that particular night. But I'm prepared to take the risk. And I think it's important to sacrifice some of your ego to that end. And I've done it many times, so I'm getting quite comfortable with that sacrifice. We all have our go-to ideas. It's like our brain is this software library of ideas and things that we've worked on over the years. Some of them are buried way down and archived, and you forget you even have them. I might look at an old video clip from 15 years ago, even 10 years ago, or even earlier, 5 years ago, and I'll think, oh, wow, yeah, wow, I haven't played that since then. And I like that feeling, because that means that I was able to let go of that and just move on. And there are certain things that will come out again and again, but they won't come out in a composed fashion. It's just because it's part of my inventory of options, of ideas. They will just surface randomly perhaps in a different type of phrasing or grouping, different tempo. It will enter and exit in a completely unique way. So in that sense, it's still spontaneous. But then there are the truly magical things that just occur and you don't really even know where they came from, except for the fact that you've worked on so many ways of expressing ideas that they will somehow come to the surface. Well, I think my solo projects were more intentional, and the projects that I was part of, or in terms of perhaps even being a sideman, I think most of it is due to a phone call. It's due to a phone ringing, me picking up and saying hi, and someone saying, hey, can you play on this record? Hey, this is Alan Holsworth here. How do you feel playing with an old geezer? And I don't think you want to play with an old geezer like me, my songs. And it comes like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'll give it some thought. I'll get back to you. Well, Alan was really an important part of my experiences as a musician, simply because he was probably the one person that I looked up to the most, even growing up as a musician. Back in Australia in the old days, I would buy all these records and I was so inspired by this musician, what I was hearing, this absolute sublime sound, his voicings, his sense of composition and writing. He was just otherworldly, and I sensed that from a young age. And, to get to the stage in my life where after many years, having moved to the US and working with a lot of great people, and finally getting the call from him, that really meant a lot to me. And you'd mentioned UK. That was also kind of a special moment for me because, again, it was a band that I was really into when I was younger, and partly because Alan was in that band also originally. But I enjoyed that progressive rock style, and so it was nice to have an opportunity to play and meet all those guys while they were still here with us. It's a crowded sort of life, but I enjoy the work. And normally it's purely musical preoccupations, but in this case, it's interviews. I'm here on Drum Talk, The host is such a gentleman, has such insight, and that's what makes this special. Thank you, Phil. I love that. That's a good statement.